I'm so excited for today's conversation with Purr. My very special guest is Matt Purcell. Matt is one of Australia's leading entrepreneurs, and you know how much I love speaking with entrepreneurs. Matt is also the recipient of the Outstanding Young Entrepreneur Award and was nominated for Australian of the Year. What an incredible feat for his work with the youth in our community. Matt is the co-founder of Mentored Media, representing some of the top brands and top personalities in Australia, and he is the founder of top podcast, The Examined Life. I love spending time with Matt because of his deep insight and his ability to become incredibly profound with his colourful stories and most enlightening perspectives. Matt has an honesty that touches me to the core, and I can't wait to have this conversation with him today over a delicious cup of Tiger Purrr Chai. A question I've been wanting to ask you for a very long time, Matt. When was the last time you woke up really tired, looked at yourself in the mirror and realized that you were Asian?
Not long ago actually. I look in the mirror and just think, I don't know, I've got Australian software, but Korean hardware, so I'm South Korean. But when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm Asian.
Yes.
This is what I've got to work with, and 5 foot midget, I'm Asian. And if you close your eyes and you listen to my voice, I sound like some white dude.
I resonate when I saw your social media post about that exact thing. I had a bit of a giggle because I'm the same, and there are those who are quite trapped by the identity piece, whereas I often forget that I'm Asian as well.
It comes down to self-acceptance as well. Some people, particularly when you're younger, if you don't accept that, say you have Asian complexities and you're a certain height, you can be left quite vulnerable if people point it out. Oh, you're short. So, back in the day when I was younger, I would have been, I'm short. Oh. When you accept that, you move past it pretty quickly. You're like, yeah, I don't really need to dwell on it.
Yeah. So, South Korea, you were born there?
I was born in South Korea.
Yes.
But I was adopted by my Australian parents when I was about 4 months old.
When did you realise that you were adopted?
I was about 4 years old. When I realised I look nothing like my parents.
Yeah.
I realised I look like Jackie Chan's son, and my dad looks like Bill Clinton, and my mum looks like Hillary. I'm like, what the hell? And I remember just asking them, hey guys, like, did you kidnap me?
Something does not equate here.
This isn't science. And they're like, nah, well, today's the day we knew this day would come. We adopted you. We couldn't have kids naturally, and you were our answer to our prayers.
Yeah.
And I've become very fond of the adoption process just because it really shows that a couple really want a child.
What was growing up like? What were your feelings at the time? Was it, I am so different, where do I belong? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Newcastle, so that's 2 hours north of Sydney, and it's like a larger country town vibe. There wasn't a lot of Asian looking kids around in my area, and walking down the street or in the mall, people would give myself and my sister, who's adopted also, she's from Taiwan, very strange looks because we'd be holding hands with two white Caucasian parents thinking the same thing, going, are you kidnapping these kids? And it didn't bother me really until two things happened. One was I went to school and kids started pointing out differences. Why don't you look like your parents? And that just raised questions in my head. Like, well, why does that matter? Like, that just annoyed me. And the second thing was when my parents separated when I was 6. And that really caused me to go really deep in myself. And I moved house 13 times as a kid. I lived with my mother, and she was a single mother for a long time, and she worked hard. And yeah, that really made me think about my adoption a lot more.
What were some of the challenges growing up? That's a intense time for a 4 to 6 year old boy.
I think the biggest challenges growing up was I wasn't shielded as a kid from the realities of what happened with my mum, and that they overshared what happened.
Right.
So I didn't like them at all, because my mother was like, your father did this, and my father was like, your mother did this. I'm like, well, I don't like both of you. You guys are awful people. And I started really thinking deeply about subject of identity, where I didn't know who I was, and I would ask that question, who am I, at the age of 7. And I always found myself quite far removed from people my age. I found myself gravitating toward older people.
Well, you've had to do a lot of accelerated growing up during the time, right? Yeah.
So I connected deeply with older people from a young age. So if we followed me back in school, I was hanging with year 6 kids when I was in year 2. So I was always hanging and having conversations with school teachers, not people my own age.
Yes.
Purely wanted to figure out answers to my questions.
And meaningful answers, meaningful conversations, meaningful questions. I resonate. I remember growing up in the outer western suburbs of Cabramatta. I came to Australia when I was 4. Couldn't speak a word of English. I remember the teacher writing on the blackboard the alphabet. I knew it was something to do with letters and the alphabet, but it just wouldn't come out. That was the point where I knew that I was different. When was the point for you as a child realizing you were different? And then when was the point for you as an adult realizing, hey, I'm different?
Oh man, I think I realized no one was asking the questions I was asking at my young age. So I knew then I was either weird or very different. No, he was asking, who am I at the age 7?
Yeah.
No one was asking that question. Seriously asking those questions and asking adults, what am I here to do? And I was trying to fill a hole that I had a hole in my heart and my soul from knowing I was adopted and my family upbringing and having such changes. Some of the houses I grew up in had mold in it, and all that stuff, little boxes. So I had to learn to adapt. I could sleep on the floor if I had to. That doesn't really bother me to this day. I'm not very picky with things. So I knew I was very different from then. And then as I grew up, I was introduced to music and creativity, and that really became an outlet for these feelings because I didn't have anything before then. I was just in my head. It gave me something to be able to get it out of my head and be able to share this and to make sense of it. With music particularly, it helped me. I wouldn't have nightmares anymore about the things I was going through.
Yeah. That creative expression. I remember when I met you for the first time and we went to the back to the cut barbershop and you gravitated towards the guitar, and I've listened to your music on Spotify. It's so lovely, so poetic, and that's what I love about you. There's a deep sense of insight, of meaning, of creative expression. What does music mean to you?
Like most art, music to me is the embodiment, the word made flesh in a way. So whenever you say the word love, that's got to look like something. That's got to sound like something. Or it's an abstract thought. It's just an abstract idea. Most of the concepts that we talk about, like gratitude and all these things, they have to look like something. Yeah. And that's what music to me is, fleshing out of an idea, whether it be an angry idea or a profound experience that you've had. And it's such an amazing thing. It's a time capsule. It's a time machine. And when you hear a song, your mind automatically goes back to a moment or an event, and it just re-triggers it all. And
evokes the emotion.
It's incredible.
We had dinner one time and you said, I am a creative genius. And I love that you just freaking owned it. I am the creative genius. And I do believe also that there's too much of this throwing around of the word humble, humility. Humility comes from the word human ability. The ability that we have as human beings to live our best version of ourselves and express without holding back or being ashamed. And especially in the professional field as well, which is why I love that you own it. In the professional field is you don't want to be too humble because you get overlooked and underpaid, right?
Yeah.
And it ain't bragging if it's the truth.
That's true.
It ain't bragging if it's true. And so that creative expression with your music and the way you, I don't believe you hold back in your music. It comes from the heart. It pulls at the heartstrings. What does all of that mean to you, and how does that segue into your profession, into your genius with what you do as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because a lot of people, when they discover their gifts, they may assume that everyone else has that same instinct. So part of the creative genius in me is that I'll learn something from martial arts, I'll learn something from music, I'll learn something from filmmakers, I'll learn something from architecture, and be able to pull the principles out of it and apply it to anything, especially in commercial sense. It's because it's that depth that I had as a child that has led me to ultimately steal, repurpose, collaborate and combine to make something truly unique for people and for myself, versus just copycatting whatever the best competitor is of your business. It's about the combinations. It's like food, right? It's like it's mixing their ingredients right together. It's like you're not recreating any new ingredients, they already exist. And I love that.
That's one of the common themes that I have with a lot of my coaching clients as well, or my speaking clients, when they say, I don't have a story, or I'm not unique. I say, yes, but if you took a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that of your direct experience, and you put all of those things together, no one else has that story but you. No one else has those that combination of experiences but you. And the next step then is the courage to put it out there. People can't see you if you're going to remain invisible, right? Tell me about some of the challenges you have with your clients at Mentored Media.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, either one, you're right, they believe that their story's boring and it's irrelevant. And two, they're just so close, they're not self-aware to be able to know what is their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and where is their uniqueness. The biggest mistake people make is they go, okay, I need to find my uniqueness. I'm just going to find who's ever been successful and just copy them. And that's the biggest mistake. I mean, we don't build houses like that. I mean, imagine if we walk down the street and we're like, that's a good house builder. Just do your best to make that. It's like, oh, do I get a blueprint or anything? No, just look at it and you figure it out, right? No, and people do that with their own brand, and they wonder why then they knock down their website every 2 years and they ask themselves, where'd all my money go? And marketing doesn't work. It's like, it's awful. No, you got to start the most important parts of a person, and the most important parts of a building are the invisible parts. And the invisible parts for any brand or person is to look at what are the key messages for your business or for yourself, and that is the pain and the villain that's in our life, and what is our desire, what's our want. Number one thing is looking at your customer and putting them as the hero, not making yourself the hero. I think a lot of people make the mistake of making themselves a hero, where they're on billboards and I'm like, no, that's not what people. No. What does your client want? What issues? What's their villain? And how can you be the guide? So if brands and businesses want to learn one thing, is be the guide, not the hero. Make your client the hero. I want to congratulate you for your nomination for Australian of the Year. That's huge.
It was pretty humbling. What went through your mind when you first heard about that?
I wasn't expecting it, but at the same time, I was putting a lot of work in invisibly. No, I wasn't doing it to be publicised at all. So it was a special feeling when you're not expecting it.
Well, that's what happens when you change people's lives, hey?
Yes,
And so you've been speaking to the youth for some time now as well. Did you play music to them?
I did. That's how I first started. I remember my mentor at the time, this guy named Darren, he was a youth pastor and he was speaking in schools as a not-for-profit, not about Christian stuff, but more about goal setting. And he saw me play one time. He's like, do you want to come and play some music in front of a high school? And I was like, yeah, might as well. I mean, I was 19 and I'm like, this is a good opportunity to be able to get in front of 1,000 kids. But when I did it, I realized how much I loved it, and I saw how lost so many of these kids were. They were so open and so hungry for truth and for role models, and for another way. And Darren, we're traveling to Tamworth one time, and we both discovered that we were both adopted too. And he was the one who encouraged me to share my adoption story and to start speaking. And so he was the one who really launched me into this path of public speaking and helping youth. Yeah.
If you were to think about some of the youth who have had some of the challenges you went through, questions of identity, parental conflict, displacement, what is some advice that you would give them in this location now?
I think I'd say honour your feelings, validate those feelings, and the questions that you have about life. I mean, they're a lifelong pursuit. I was 8 or 7 when I was asking these questions, and I know kids are that profound when they go through foster care or whatever path they're on. I'd say also keep question everything that's popular, because Mark Twain said that everything that's popular is wrong. So everything about what's beautiful, what's pretty, what's successful, is generally wrong, right? I'd also say life is more than just obviously the external. Like, there's a spiritual pursuit. Everything's a spiritual thing, and I think I found faith when I was like 12, 13 years old. That really helped me.
What faith was that?
I was through Christianity.
Yes.
Yeah, and that really helped me get through a lot of tough times, and it gave me a doctrine or a guideline for life. And that really helped me get through tough times, and also gave me meaning in life. So if you can find something like that, and I know the difference between having it and not having it. And life's a very lonely place when you don't have something bigger than yourself to be able to pursue or to render your need to. Yeah,
I agree. Just to expand the dimension of our thinking, that there is more to life than this 3D existence, that there is so much more, whether that be spirituality, faith, and you are also a marriage celebrant.
Yeah, I've been, that's the thing.
How long were you doing that for?
About 3 years.
Okay.
And I mean, that's the thing, like, some people, they ask me, how did you get to where I am? And some people would assume maybe the same as you, like, you've been doing this for a long time, like your whole life. I've evolved so much. I was a musician.
Yes.
And then speaker, and then I went to it. And it just came about because I was playing a lot of weddings as a musician. And I was already speaking around, and I saw like, oh man, celebrants are so boring. Celebrants to me, like, there's no one under the age of 60 doing this, and I could do such a good job with this, and I wanted to marry my friends and family particularly.
Yeah.
So
what a joyful thing to do.
Yeah. It was a special time, and then I got to the point where, like, I have to choose between this and this. My time is so limited. The more successful you become, the more you realize you've got to say yes less to things, and even to good things, good opportunities. I just can't claim myself 3 times, 4 times.
So for all these careers, Matt, makes you more of a, how would I call it, these delicious layers that make you the man you are today. If I were to ask you, what are some high highs for you and what are some low lows?
Some high highs are, I guess, working toward a goal to be able to provide and have a lifestyle and the freedom for my family that I never had as a kid. That was always a beautiful goal I had to. It wasn't a materialistic goal, it was more just changing my history, changing my family legacy. And that's the thing, in ancient times, they would have called it generational curses, where family would pass on bad habits or bad things, and they'll call them curses back then, like alcoholism or poverty or bad choices or whatever it was. And for my line, there has definitely been that, like from my family. And I'm proud to be able to say I've changed that.
Yeah.
And that's
That's a big thing to be proud of, man.
Yeah.
You know, as we heal the past, we heal the present, which therefore heals the future, which goes back to healing the past, because it all connects in the lineage. Hey, I love that. And are you giving your music to your beautiful daughters?
Yeah, I'm giving them
as well as all these life lessons.
The same opportunities that they've got the music in
How old are they now?
6 and 3. They're just beautiful.
Cute.
I know, it's so cute.
Look at your face change.
I know, and so in love.
Very good. Isla and River.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful names. Well done. And it's good when we can look back at our lives and use it as an anti-model, huh? So that our children don't experience the same.
Yeah, that was the goal, and I feel like I've got to that place now where I've definitely changed a lot of the bad stuff repeating itself.
Yeah. Matt, we were at dinner one time and you told me this beautiful story that took my breath away about Joseph and his multicolored coat.
Yeah.
And I love the profundity of your stories and the insights that you give. Please, can you tell me that story again?
Yeah, well, I love the Joseph story. It's a biblical story, and I feel like I am Joseph in the giftings he had. Basically, Joseph was the youngest son, and he had 12 brothers. He had a gift. His gift was he had dreams, and he could interpret other people's dreams. And his dad made him a very colourful coat, like it showed his favour and his love toward his son. And Joseph had a dream one day about everyone bowing to him, like his brothers, his father, the whole nation of Egypt was bowing to him. And being a young man, he kind of boasted about the dream. Oh, hey bros, I just had a dream you were bowing to me. And they're like, oh, I'm so jealous. You know, look at him, like he's the father's favourite son, and now he's really up himself now. And they sold him to slavery. They totally left him, and they lied about what happened to him, obviously, to the father. The father thought he had died. And so he was sold into slavery, and he was bought by a military leader who was under Potiphar. And I think it was actually Potiphar. And basically he had to wash and clean and basically just be a slave for this guy's mansion. But Joseph, no matter where he was put, he prayed to God and honoured God. And he said, no matter where I'm put, I'm going to work the best I can and be the best damn cleaner. So he would stay overtime, he'd work really hard, and Potiphar saw his loyalty and his hard work and favoured him. He said, okay, well, and he gave him more responsibility to the point where he was in charge of all his affairs, his assets, his investments and everything, this slave of his. And God favoured him and honoured him as he honoured God. And his wife, Potiphar's wife, looked at Joseph with envy and with not with envy but with lust actually, and she went to sleep with him, but he was like, I can't do that. I can't dishonour my master, and she was pretty violent with him. Like she tore his cloth, his robe, and he ran away, bolted. And then she made up a story about how he tried to force himself on her, or the other way around. So again, Joseph was sold out, and Potiphar put him in prison. And like, oh, what? How could it get worse for Joseph? And Joseph had every right now to be like, why? Like, this is not fair. And he still honoured God no matter where he's put. And he was the best prisoner out of all the prisoners. And he had favour with the prison guards and prison wards. Walked around eventually wherever he wanted to and interpreted dreams and helped people with whatever rations he had. And there were 2 people in prison one day who had dreams, and he interpreted both dreams. And one person's dream, he said, you're going to leave here and be the cupbearer of the king. And I want you to remember my dream and my gift and tell the king. He's like, okay, I'll remember. And he got out, the dream happened, and he got out of prison, and he forgot to mention Joseph for a long time. Until the king had these terrible nightmares about this vision that was happening in the, like there was all these things happening, and none of his wisest counsel could explain what the dream was about. And then the cupbearer remembers, oh, there's this guy in prison, and he interpreted my dream. So the king summoned Joseph to him, and Joseph interpreted the king's dream. And the king's dream was basically there were 7 cows and 7 monsters, and the 7 cows were eaten by the 7 monsters. And Joseph was saying basically the 7 cows are 7 years of plenty. You're gonna have great years of harvesting, but then the monsters is 7 years of famine.
Yes.
And you're gonna have to put. My suggestion for you is to tax people certain grain, certain things, and we'll store it away in the 7 years. So when the famine hits, we're gonna have reserves. And then that's when the king actually appointed Joseph as the prince of everything. So his dream from the start of everyone bowing to him actually came true. But it's his ability to interpret people's dreams and honor God through, no matter where he was put, no matter what happened to him, he decided within me, I will not let anyone take away my freedom to choose how I respond.
Yes.
And now I resonate with that so much because I have that same gift. No matter who I work with or where I've gone to, I've been able to interpret dreams of
That's your creative genius.
Yeah, that's my creative genius. I work with kings and queens for that reason.
Yes.
And that's where I find myself most days now, is in the presence of these types of people. Like, you're a queen in my eyes, right?
You're a king in my eyes, my dear friend.
Yes,
I mean that, by the way. I mean that.
You.
I can see why you resonate with Joseph, being able to adapt to any environment, stepping up with integrity, and living your truth, and then also being in service of everyone around you. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. Thank you for telling it to me again. I love listening to stories. Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
No, thanks for having me.
I want to give you a gift.
All right.
And I also want to ask you 2 last questions.
Okay.
First, let me give you the gift.
Wow. Dear Matt, you smell. No.
There's 3 of them for you and your crew.
Oh, wow. No, this is delicious, truly.
2 fun questions.
Yeah.
What have you spent less than $100 on, dear Matt, that has made a massive impact to your life?
I think a moleskin.
Yes.
Definitely, like...
The diary.
I'm a tech head too, but I think I'm getting... Analog is so good.
Yes.
Analog is so good for the...
I'm so analog.
Yeah. Analog all the way. And, things like good pen.
Yeah.
And a moleskin. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold.
Very good.
Yeah, I can't think the same way and execute things the same way on an iPad or on a computer.
I love that because you own a production company, which is all tech, but I'm going analog. My last question is, what makes Matt Purcell purr?
I really mean this. I'm actually so grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
Like if I look back at my history, my birth mother didn't know she was pregnant until she hit labour. My next door neighbour in Korea delivered me on the barn floor, wasn't a doctor, and she could have just got rid of me, or she could have aborted the whole process because it would have brought shame to her. And the fact that I was chosen by 2 Australian parents who I do dearly love giving me a second chance. I was chosen. It gives me such a reason to live.
Yeah.
Because I'm so grateful to be here.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Oh.
All the best. Thank you for being with me today.
Oh, darling.
Beautiful man.